everybody. It is Friday Eve. Everybody in-house. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam. Gentlemen.
What's up?
How are we?
Little game tonight in Oakland. No big deal. Well, I'll be watching. You gonna watch?
You don't start out our show like that.
Yeah, I do. Little game in Oakland.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
What's that?
to undersell it, you know?
No.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hype it up so people will watch.
Oh, okay.
What's the matter with you?
I'm saving myself for the first topic when I'm about to unleash,
Well,
so
I
I'm
knew
actually
it.
pacing.
I
Let's
knew
make
it.
that happen.
Yeah, like my Spurs, I pace.
Yeah.
I put it in cruise control until it's time.
No,
and
you
then
just
I go.
pace the house with
Yeah.
anxiety while
I
you're
do
playing.
that.
Let's
yeah,
be
that's
honest.
a fact.
Leave that if you want to.
Yeah.
No, I ain't trying to hear it.
All right, gentlemen.
Let's go, man.
We ready to work? Let's do it. New
always
Browns quarterback Robert Griffin spoke at his introductory press conference saying that he's excited after not playing all of 2015, and he's not afraid of the pressure. Take a listen. Skip. No pressure, no diamond.
Yeah.
You like what you heard from your boy RG3?
I did not care for it.
Really?
And Stephen A. Smith, I'm going to say this again. The more I see of the Cleveland Browns, the more I smell disaster for a quarterback I love in Robert Griffin III. The more I watched him talk yesterday, the more I sense that he has no idea what he has gotten himself into. I believe that he was so starved for love in D.C. that he's now being blinded by the love he feels like he's getting from his new coach, Hugh Jackson, his new coordinator, Pep Hamilton, his new GM, President Sashi Brown. He needed that love. They're giving him that love because I think, again, this isn't overt on their part, but they're taking this man for a ride because they need a high-profile placeholder for 1 year while their team is an absolute disaster. And that's what's going to happen next year. If you want to say Robert needed this opportunity to reprove himself to the NFL, I say how? With the 32nd worst team in this league, with a team that will be by far the worst in this league. And again, once again, we had Robert speaking as if he's the starting quarterback now. And these interviews, to me, start to reek of this egomaniacal introspection that I don't like from a guy that, he's RG3, and I call him RGIII. It's too much me. It's too much looking inside myself. I liked what he said about he learned in Washington that every loss has to be the quarterback's fault. I get that. I'm happy that he learned that. Show us next year, don't tell us now. And Stephen A., he's all these big bad quotes about, you know, I got a chip on my shoulder and this team's got a chip on its shoulder. What team are we talking about? Do you realize they just cut Carlos Dansby, Dante Whitner, that kid from Oregon who's highly regarded, that Ekpre Olumu, and obviously Dwayne Bowe's gone. They cut their starting defensive tackle, Randy Starks. And then in free agency, they lost Travis Benjamin, who was their second best receiver and Johnny Manziel's favorite target, their only deep threat. They lost 2 offensive line starters to free agency in Alex Mack, Mitchell Schwartz. They lost a starting safety in Tayshaun Gibson. And we all know they have the number 2 pick in the draft. And by many accounts, many reports, they will use it on one of those 2 high-profile rookie quarterbacks. They also have the first pick in the 2nd round, which is the 32nd overall. Like that, but it'll be a defensive player, I'm assuming. But back to the other quarterback, how much will that rookie quarterback help Robert next year? How about none? How about dog pound? I can already hear him chanting for whoever it is. Carson. This team is going to be terrible. I think they want to be terrible. It's a little bit of Philadelphia 76ers syndrome. We're going to talk about Hinkie resigning. But it's this whole idea of we've got to get bad to get back to being good. New regime, they said, let's just cut bait with all that was from the past. Let's start over. For Robert, it's... You know, I don't like anything about it, and most of all, I don't like that he doesn't see it coming. He should have been more humble yesterday, and in the end, to paraphrase his quote, it's going to be huge pressure, no diamonds. That's what's going to happen next year. Huge pressure, no diamonds.
I'm at a loss to why you perceive him as not being humble, because of the last statement that he got up when he said no pressure, no diamonds.
Oh, he's still talking about I'm coming, Cleveland, and I get all that, but you gotta underplay this one because you got no help, man. You got no help.
Got no help. The Cleveland Browns will probably stink. We get all of that. Oof. But you got to make up your mind. Just like he has to be humble, you, Skip Bayless, need to make up your mind. Do you believe in Hugh Jackson, Paul DePodesta, and Sashi Brown, or don't you? You have
I do in the long term.
But you have said on many occasions that You believe in them.
Yep.
Well, then believe in them.
Well, I think they believe in Carson Wentz. That's what they're believing in.
But
Whoever may be Jared
But the
Goff.
point is you got to crawl before you walk. And if you're RG3, you've been so beaten down emotionally and mentally, you got to start somewhere. And why not start with a coach who believes in you and an offensive coordinator who believes in you? Understanding where the minefields lie. They understand where they are. They understand that they've got a long way to go. They were 3-13 last year, okay? They stunk. We all understand that. Mike Pettin is gone. Ray Farmer, the former GM, is gone. You've got a new organization from top to bottom. Practically, the only person that remains is the owner. Everybody else is gone.
That's a fact.
They have completely cleaned house.
Start over.
So if they've cleaned house, not only are you getting a new start, you're surrounded by a bevy of individuals who are also getting a new start. Hugh Jackson got screwed over. Pep Hamilton got screwed over. Now you got your quarterback that's got screwed over. It's an ideal situation where you're a quarterback and you've got that proverbial chip on your shoulder because of all the things that you have had to endure, and you literally communicate every day with two people who are your superiors and an offensive coordinator and a head coach who basically went through the exact same thing. Hugh Jackson should not have been fired as coach of the Oakland Raiders. Pep Hamilton should not have been removed as an offensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. Both of them, to a degree, were scapegoated. So if you are RG3 and that's how you feel, and you literally have migrated to a situation where your superiors went through identical circumstances, that puts you in a very, very good position because you know from a psychological perspective they relate to you. So now it's just about going out there and playing football. RG3 is probably aware of the fact that the team he is surrounded by is not very good. They've got a lot to prove, et cetera, et cetera. But what he's talking about are his responsibilities, what's laid on his shoulders, what he's going to have to go out there and do. And when you've been through what RG3 has been through, there's a legitimate argument that can be made. All you're concerned about is making sure that if things go south, it ain't your fault. That's where you are. Outside of that, everything else is house money. Even if Cleveland stinks up the joint year after year. Let's say, for example, Skip, we watch RG3 stand in the pocket, throw the football, scramble out of the pocket and make yards, move the chains that way. And we're seeing guys dropping passes left and right, or we're seeing a defense giving up 40 points a game or whatever. And we're pointing to all of the things that happened in Cleveland, but not RG3, because we're looking at RG3 and saying, you know what? He went through his progressions. He made the right read here. He did this. He did that. He put the ball in somebody's hands. They're dropping passes. Guys can't get open, etc. If you're looking at all of those things and ultimately you're not attaching culpability to him, then guess what? It's an upswing for him. And that's what he's looking for right now. Cleveland may not be his last stop. It may not be a finished product. But what Hugh Jackson and Deepa Destin, Sashi Brown, and probably Pep Hamilton all sold him on is that this is an opportunity to have a fresh start and to move in a forward direction to resurrect a career thought to be lost. That's what they're saying for him. So I just think it's really about you defining what success is and you also making up your mind, Skip. Do you believe in Hugh Jackson and Pep Hamilton and Deepa Destin?
I believe in him so much that I think they have decided that they needed RG3 for 1 year.
Fine.
And that's fine with me, but I also love RG3. I may not believe in RG3 the way I used to, but I still love him.
But it might be him. He might want that, Skip. He might want that 1 year just to resurrect himself and move on. He might want that.
What if RG3 right now were sitting in Mark Sanchez's seat? What if he were Mark Sanchez in Denver? Would I not love that a lot more than I love this one?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, what if he were...
But they didn't want him. They wanted Mark Sanchez.
I guess not.
And he'd have bigger expectations.
And that's the whole point.
Okay, but that'd be okay. Because he could live up to that if he had a crew around him. He had a defense and some receivers.
But what I think, where I have a problem with your argument is that you believed in RG3. He was the #2 overall pick. He was Offensive Rookie of the Year, all of that other stuff. You believed in him. And you're concerned about him because you're thinking from a macro perspective, long term. And I'm saying long term, this is a perfect situation for him because he gets to go there, even if it is short term, and resurrect his career before. Look at what Mark Sanchez did. Took the Jets to the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row, even though it was their defense that really did it, even though he had some good moments. From there, from there, went downhill over the next 3 to 4 years. So what does he do, Skip? He lands in Philadelphia as a backup.
With a pretty good team.
As a backup. But no, it didn't matter because he was a backup. He was barely playing.
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make to you is that as a result of that, along with some flashes of good moments that he had in Philadelphia when he got opportunities, Denver comes along and says, okay, we're willing to take you on. I'm saying those are the kind of things that didn't happen for RG3. Cleveland was basically the one landing spot that he could have. He would have liked to have gone to San Francisco and be with the 49ers. They didn't do that. Okay, he would have liked to have gone to Denver. They didn't do that.
Okay.
So what's he supposed to do?
Here's the first thing he's supposed to do. He's not supposed to keep putting himself on the couch in those interviews that we see. He loves to psychoanalyze himself. It does him no good. It creates more pressure. It's like he's talking like he's still RG3, and he's not, because he wasn't 2 years ago, and he didn't even play last year. And I'm the first to admit, I'm a little concerned about the injuries that took things away from him that will make him less than RG3.
I'm concerned about the injuries, too. But, Skip, man, that's just so unfair when you consider what this guy was put through. I mean, think about this. You're the star of the team. You're the face of the franchise. And not only do you get benched, you get relegated to the practice squad, essentially. They don't want you even putting on a uniform because they don't want you getting hurt at all.
Got it.
Because they want to avoid giving you $16.1 million. I mean, talk about a plummet from grace. And in the meanwhile, not only was he not playing, Skip, Molly, the man couldn't even talk, because it would have looked like sour grapes. It would have looked like
you know what? I loved it.
But wait a minute.
It was good for him not to talk.
Wait a minute. My point to you is, fine, it was good for him not to talk then. But if your silence is, if you're muted like that, and then now you go to Cleveland and you're the new guy, and you're sitting before a panel of individuals peppering you with questions, and you could never speak up for yourself, and you could never defend yourself. How can you fault that man for finally opening his mouth?
He already did the conference call the day he was signed. Remember that? He did a teleconference call, or like it was via phone,
We had quotes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, we had it. I thought that was enough. I didn't need yesterday.
But he had to do the introductory press conference.
I don't know if he did. I think
Yes,
he'd
he
already
did.
done it.
No, I think
is
you
there,
have to
is there a
do it.
law?
Well,
They
there's not.
usually do.
Skip.
Is there a law?
Skip. Is there
Skip,
No,
you know there's
seriously.
not a law.
This is
Is
one
there
where
a
you
new quarterback?
step back and say, wait a second,
Is there a
maybe.
new quarterback that's a name that hasn't had to do that?
Well, he did his. I said he did his.
No, I
corner.
said that face to face.
Yeah.
Tell me who. Tell me what former franchise guy comes along.
And what former number 2 pick in the draft has gone through what RG3 fell from grace
which
through?
is why he needed to have the press conference.
Okay, well, I completely disagree, and there's only one way this is going to work, and that is if all the pundits and the reporters are wrong about what they're going to do with that number 2 pick. If they don't use it on a quarterback, I'm good. Most people are educated guessing that they are going to use it on a quarterback.
I think you have to take a quarterback.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, then he is done in Cleveland. This is one and done.
I'm telling you, I don't think he wanted to stay in Cleveland.
You want them to get a backup, not draft one.
Sure.
He had no long-term plan to stay in Cleveland.
All right.
If he balls out, maybe he can.
Balls out how?
I know.
Like how?
I know.
How?
I know.
Listen, seriously,
I know.
can they win a game next year? Can they win a game?
They'll always
Of course
win 2
they
to
can
3.
win a game.
2 to 3? I don't know. I can't see how they can win a game with the roster as is.
Well, you don't sound like somebody that believes in Hugh Jackson.
Okay, but I don't think they're doing that. They're doing the Sixers idea where we have to be really bad to get really good.
Well, the Hugh Jackson that I know, I don't believe would stand for that, a Sixers replica. I don't believe that.
Well, I don't.
I'm not saying they're not going to struggle next year, but I don't think that you plan on suffering
to tank
from that.
it. No.
I don't think so.
No, you're not planning. You just need to cut all the junk away. You know, like remove all the past.
If it's junk, then it's junk.
Okay, that's how they viewed it. But you can't replace the junk with good players like that. And if you're going to use it's the number 2 overall pick. If you're going to use it on a rookie quarterback who will barely play next year, that's not going to get the team anywhere next year, right? You're not going to take Joey Bosa with the 2nd pick, unless I'm missing something here.
All I'm saying to you is that a quarterback is the most important position on a football field. And if you have an opportunity to grab somebody that you think can be there for a decade, you take them. And if they have to wait a year or 2, so what?
Yep.
Because RG3 doesn't mind a year or 2.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be in Chicago for the draft, and we'll be following this pick very closely. RG3, no pressure, no diamonds. Skip says pressure, no diamonds. The line of the day. Moving